Hi everyone, welcome back. We're back outside today and it is time for the July garden tour. If you're new here, my name is Alyssa and I garden in New York, Zone 7B. Welcome to the garden. In this garden, we try to make things more beautiful for ourselves, but also a little bit wilder so that it's better for us as well as all of the wildlife. So with that, let's get started. We're in the front yard right now and it's north facing. So in this first garden bed, it's mostly shade tolerant plants. We have our Japanese maple, which I almost want to start calling her cousin it because I feel like for the past couple of years, she's just getting bigger and bushier, loving her life. Then again, because this is north facing and needs to be more shade tolerant, we have a lot of hostas back here, which still have their bloom stalks, which I have seen a few pollinators enjoying. There's a stone crop that is just starting to bud up. And then we also have this coreopsis here with this cute little yellow blooms. I think it's a threadleaf coreopsis. It used to be a little bit more flamboyant. I'm wondering if maybe I don't know, I don't think it's loving its life here. So I'm gonna have to investigate it more to see if I need to move it or what's going on. But we used to get more blooms from the threadleaf coreopsis. Things that are new in this garden bed are this winterberry holly, which is just greenery right now. In the winter, it'll give us some nice red berries. But what we can see back here is some variegated red twig dogwood, which are loving their lives. I put these back here just this past spring. I moved them from the backyard and they seem to be doing great here. And what'll be nice is in the winter, we should get some nice winter interest with the red barks. Then the newest garden bed in the front is the soft landing garden bed under the oak tree. So this is brand new. I need to do some maintenance in here, do some weeding, which you will see is going to be a theme for this garden tour. We're in the midst of doing a lot of the dog days of summer garden maintenance. But the things that we planted so far this year, this is a brand new garden bed, are still looking really good. In the front here, we have 3 yarrow, which yarrow typically wants more sun, but supposedly this one can tolerate a little bit more shade. But you can see how this guy, I feel like it's leaning over because this area here gets a little bit more sun. But we'll see how this goes. There's various different kinds of goldenrod up here. There's great blue lobelia that's here and dotted along that side as well. There's some Virginia woodmint and some asters. In the front here, we also have some more Donny woodmint, and in the front on both sides, both edges, I have wild geranium. The idea for most of this area is, again, it's under the big oak tree and in a north-facing garden bed. So these need to be things that are going to tolerate a good bit of shade. So there's going to be a lot of things that are more ground cover in nature. We will have some color here, but it'll most likely be in early spring. So we'll have to see how this garden bed looks come next spring. Now, the last thing on this side of the garden, on this edge of the garden bed, the things that are showing off the most are going to be the buddleia, which still has some nice pink blooms, but you can see they're starting to fade a little bit. I'm not going to cut off the bloom stalks. I'm going to leave them. Still give some like nice, interesting dark color and some height to this plant. So I leave her alone. And then the other big thing that is showing off right now on the front is some phlox. These two are doing so well. It's really making me think that I could do with some more phlox here in the front because they seem like they're enjoying themselves a lot. All right, let's go to the other side of the front yard now. Now, on the other front garden bed, the thing that's showing off the most right now is going to be the hydrangea. This is a little lime punch, young, but you can see she's putting on her blooms and she's spreading a good bit. We're definitely getting more flowers from this one this year than we did last year. And in the fall, this is going to give us some nice pink color. The other things that are kind of new in this garden bed are going to be the daylilies. There's this yellow one, which I'm loving because we don't have that much yellow in the garden, I'm realizing. So we have this one and we have this pink one. which when I put these in last year, it's because, as you can see, I need a little bit more late summer or mid to late summer color in this front garden bed. So I put some daylilies in. I didn't know what they were going to be. I think I got them in a variety pack from a local garden center. So we have these in the back as well, but they're still beautiful, nice color, and lily smells so good. I don't think I actually like the scent of lily scented products like soaps or perfumes, but the actual flower I love. Everything else here you guys have seen, they've been here for a while. My cosmos are still doing really well. I cut them back a little bit a few days ago and they just keep blooming. Love them. Gives that nice wildflower look. Now, if we go to this front side garden path, there's not much color going on here, which is good to note. This is the first year that I'm doing yearly garden tours or really taking pictures on a monthly basis. And it's a really good idea to do because what I'm realizing is this has a lot of spring color. I didn't plant a lot of annuals this year because I just got caught up with projects and different things. So I'm realizing this front side path does not have a lot of color for this time of year. Still looks really nice. You still have the lamium as the ground cover, which I love, which they don't have their pink purple blooms anymore. You have our rose bush, you have the thunderclap flowering plum. So there's a little bit of color, mostly green, which can be nice, but we're people who like color. So I think for next year, I'll focus on adding some more perennial color to the side garden bed. Or I can also decide, let me leave the perennials as they are, and maybe I add the color with annuals. But now I know that that's something that I have to do. So guys, every month or so, I would say, go out in your garden, just take a couple of pictures just so you can see what's out there and what's going on. Give yourself ideas of what you need to do, what you're loving, what you need to tweak. All right, so not much going on in terms of color back here, but the perennials that I've planted are nice and healthy. But since there's not so much color here, let's head to the backyard. Okay, everybody, welcome to the jungle. There's a lot of stuff going on back here, a lot of things that I want, that are beautiful, that I'm loving, a lot of things that I might need to edit. But like I said, that's a different project for a different day. So the first thing you encounter when you enter the backyard is this crepe myrtle, which is loving her life so much that I'm pretty sure next year I'm going to have to limb her up so that we can enter the backyard unencumbered. But she's doing great, and you can see there's a few blooms at the top, but really she's going to be coming into her own soon. Then as you keep going, you can see this, I almost want to call it an herbaceous border. Is that a little too pretentious? Am I doing a little too much there? One day, guys, one day. So what we do have back here is we have some anise hyssop, which I don't know if you guys can really see, but there's definitely some pollinators on there. We have my favorite daylily, who has no name because I just picked her up from one of the big box stores a couple of years ago, and I just love this color. I think I am going to have to divide it this year though, because she's making a lot of flowers, but I feel as if the flowers used to be a little bit bigger. So I'm wondering if I need to divide her up a little bit, which could be nice to put a little bit more of this white color throughout the border. Again, white is not one of those colors that we have a lot of in the garden. Then we have, in terms of the perennials, we already talked about the anise hyssop. Then we have a couple of different kinds of coneflower. This is like a different variety from the regular purple coneflower, but we have those as well. You can see that we have a bunch of milkweed that definitely have grown themselves, because I would not have planted this milkweed here, but here she is. Then in the back, you can see we have another phlox amidst all of the ferns, and some black-eyed Susans that are trying to poke their little heads up. We have 3 roses back here, but the one that's doing the best is Memorial Day, probably because she's the most unencumbered, so she's really performing. We have 2 perfume factories, which smell really good, but the one that's under the crepe myrtle, she's not dead, but she's definitely not living her best life. The one that's behind the crabapple is doing okay. You can see down here that we also, as I said before, have a bunch of different purple cone flowers dotted around. I also have this late blooming allium that's just starting to bud up. There used to be 2 of them. There was one here and there was another partner right here, but that one bit the dust for reasons I do not know. So now she's a singleton by herself. There's another set of milkweed that planted itself. And guys, I finally saw a monarch butterfly in the backyard. I tried to get some footage, but she was moving really fast. I think she was camera shy. Did not want to land for me to get a good picture, but I saw her. Very excited. One of the funniest things that I have in my garden that's basically a weed is tomatoes. Do you all see this? This is a tomato plant. I don't know why she's here. I don't know how she got here. I don't know if I dropped the tomato seed there, if some bird or squirrel or something did, but we have tomato plants that just pop themselves up all over the place. There's another one right here, just along the side path. Nowhere where I would put a tomato plant, but here it is. There's also a lot of catmint here, again, amongst the goldenrod. There's a bunch of ferns and a bunch of things that I probably need to take out on a different day. Cutting back your catmint and salvia is a garden project that a lot of people will do. I don't tend to shear them back. It's just one of those things that I don't have that much time to be outside, and it's one of those garden chores that I've decided to forego. And truthfully, they still perform really well. But a lot of people will cut back their catmint after the first flush so that it has a bigger, showier second flush. But I think they do okay without the cutting back. If we keep going along the path, more coneflower, more catmint, and then this is a baby persimmon tree. This was just a little twig last year, but she's doing okay, branching out. And then in the back over here, I planted a couple of new things that look like it's just green, so we'll leave that alone for right now. But there's also some yarrow, and I'm looking at it right now. There's another tomato plant that is growing itself there. I don't know, guys. These tomatoes are crazy. Before we leave the side path, let's look at the planters. So if you haven't seen that video, you guys can go look back. I did all pink on these planters. And right now, the planters look okay. I think we've kind of hit that part of dog days of summer where some things are showing off really well and some things are not. So for example, the Supertunia Vista bubblegum looks like it's not showing off that well, but that's because this went so hard, so fast, that at this point it's getting ready for its second flush. So there's not as many blooms on it right now, but all of this is going to be some more blooms. We also have a few geraniums back here, which are trying to hold their own against the Supertunia bubblegum. Mixed results. In this planter bed, we had Super Bells Purple, which I'm actually really loving. I think they're so cute. The salvia, though, not doing so hot. We did this for the first time this year, and they did okay, but I don't think they're loving this pot. I don't know if they need more sun, or maybe I don't know. They're just not loving it, and I don't know if I loved how they looked in here. So along with the Super Bells, I tried some mini dahlias for the first time, and I don't think they performed that well here. It might be that they didn't have enough sun. Again, not sure, but the Super Bells are doing pretty well, but the dahlias didn't do so well. And the salvia, meh. I might take these out and try them someplace else in the actual garden. The last one, though, just seems to have been overtaken by Supertunia Jazzberry. There were other things in here which I can't even remember because they're just gone. Jazzberry was behind Bubblegum, but at this point, I mean, she's showing off beautifully. I really think next year I'm not even going to put the Supertunia Vistas in pots. I'm going to do other things in the pots and maybe have these guys along the border or something. But they do a really good job in the pots. They're a nice spiller, but to be honest, they tend to take over the pots and it's almost pointless to put anything else in there. It feels like nothing else can really compete with them. So if we continue into the rest of the yard now, we have some more purple salvia here. We have the rose arch, which I don't know if we're going to get a very strong second flush of blooms. from either Colette or Eden, but they looked glorious when they did in their first flush, so I'm happy with them. There's also actually along the dog run that we have here, if you can see those kind of orangey flowers, that's our native honeysuckle. And I'm not doing anything to that guy. I'm just letting it go wild. I'm not training it. I'm just letting it do its thing. Like I said, there's only so many things I have time for. But that's actually one of the plants that I saw the monarch on. So I guess she liked it. All right, so now for the fruit trees. We did get a few tiny little plums off of the plum tree that's in the front. They were tiny, but they were delicious. I am so excited that I got any fruit out off of that tree at all. The peach tree is doing pretty well. I actually think I'm gonna have to thin some of these peaches soon. The tree definitely had peach curl, but so some of the fruit looks a little funky, but overall they look pretty good. I think we are going to get a few peaches this year, but I think it's going to be best for me to thin them at some point because this is a young tree, so that it can focus on making the peaches bigger instead of so many peaches. So maybe we'll get a handful of good peaches this year. Then we have the Fuji apple tree, which does have a couple of apples which are gaining in size. I'm really excited about this, you guys. Last year, this one didn't perform so well. We didn't get that many fruit, but she's bounced back. I think an apple or two has been stolen by a squirrel, but I might just be blaming the squirrels for everything. But they're back here and they're digging in my plots. They're a menace, the squirrels. The squirrels are my arch enemies right now. Then the Pink Lady apple tree still has her one apple. She's managed to make one, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so in the summer garden bed, ignore the giant grills. Guys, we had people over for the 4th of July. I have a big family, so we needed some extra grills to feed everybody. But in the back here, there's definitely not quite as much annual color as I usually do. For example, I did start some zinnias, which are coming up. They look so cute, but definitely not as much as I have in the past. So there's not as much annual color. I had a few extra super bells and things like that that didn't make it into pots that I just threw in. But the other thing that I grew from seed that I love are these mini zinnias. I'm definitely going to have to get more of these for next year because, guys, these don't get any bigger than this. So they're basically a ground cover zinnia, and I love them. I definitely want to have them as underplantings for some of the bigger plants. The other thing that's still showing off this year are the hydrangeas. So you can see only one of them, actually I think 2 of them now have some blooms. This one that has this interesting blue gets a little bit purple too. And in the back, you can see this one has some blue purple blooms as well. The third one didn't bloom this year, but that does happen sometimes with the hydrangeas. I do think I need to come back here and prune them next year. Then in this garden bed, the biggest thing we have is the big crepe myrtle. And I'm looking at her again today and she's grown some more, definitely gotten some more width to her. So when she blooms, she's usually the last thing to bloom in the garden. I think it's gonna be a glorious show this year. We have the other Japanese maple that's pretty much just rocking and roll. She's also gotten really big. It's a little bit hard to see, I think, from your angle, but she's extending further into the back. Let me see if I can get you guys a better view. You can kind of see, if I get in here, all the way back to that hibiscus back there. And then you can see there's this hibiscus as well. These guys will bloom later on in the summer. The one in the back I had to transplant, which is why it looks a little bit puny compared to that one, because we put them in at the same time, but it's bouncing back. Then we have another of that daylily, same as the one in the front, but I'll call this one the OG. This one's been in here pretty much since we started this garden bed. And then lastly, we have this other crepe myrtle, which is a more squat kind of shrub-like crepe myrtle that you can see is already starting to bloom. It always blooms before the big tree does, but that's just getting started. You can see there's way more blooms on this guy. So this garden bed really starts to show off towards the end of summer. All right, let's head to the vegetable garden. Right before we get into the back garden, just want to show off these grapes a little bit. I did have to chase a squirrel off of here the other day, but there are some grapes and I am super, super excited. So if we go under the grape arch, we get into the jungle of a vegetable garden that I have going on here. In this first garden, in this first raised bed, we have tomatoes, I have black Krim, Cherokee purple, and I can't remember if there's 2 Cherokee purple or if there's 2 black Krim in here, but you can see we're just starting to get a couple of tomatoes. And then there's herbs as well as strawberries in this garden bed. A bunch of basil, there's some parsley in here, some dill, and some strawberries that have still survived my massacre that I did a few weeks ago. The massacre really happened in this garden bed, which used to be only strawberries. And if you guys haven't seen that video, go back and take a look and see what havoc I wreaked to this garden bed. But I ripped up a bunch of strawberries, put them back in after I refilled this garden bed, and then I put strawberries back in, and then I put some peppers in. Now, I can't decide what's going on with the peppers because the 2 cayenne peppers, as well as one of the jalapeno, are kind of tipped over. And I don't know if I'm just blaming the squirrels for everything, but there's definitely something that's been digging in here because there was something digging here that I could see, and this guy was knocked over and I propped her up just yesterday. This one was not knocked over, and neither was this jalapeno. So I'm not sure what's going on with them. I don't think they're reaching for sun. I'm kind of worried something's knocking them over, but we'll see. I'm gonna have to prop all these guys up again. We have 1 jalapeno that's grown. I'm leaving her on here because if I leave it on, it'll get even hotter and turn red. And then you can see everybody's catching up. This is a pimento that we grew from seed that we saved ourselves. And then the 2 Scotch bonnets. These guys are always behind the jalapenos, but once they start producing, they'll really get going. On this side, we have some more cherry tomatoes, which aren't in the best spots because of the big cherry tree, but that was my mistake in my unplanned garden design. But so I stuck a couple of cherry tomatoes here. So there's the cherry bomb, there's pink bumble, and then that one's going to be a sun gold. Now, if you look over here, there's also what looks like sun golds. I'm going to try one right now, actually, because I did not plant this here. This grew itself. I tried one the other day and it wasn't as sweet as a sun gold. So because it grew itself, I think it's a hybrid. This is something that grew itself. It's not going to be true to form, but it looks just like a sun gold. So let's see what it tastes like. It's pretty good. I think the first one I must mustn't have been that, right? That's actually pretty good. So, might actually be a sun gold. Then we have my everlasting perennial dahlias that aren't supposed to be perennial here, but they're basically, seems like they're in I planted these 2 or 3 years ago, and this is obviously a microclimate that keeps it just warm enough for them to stay alive. So she is thriving, and I think has gotten more, like definitely more tubers. It feels like a different variety kind of popped up because it was this orange one before, but this kind of pink purple one is popping up this year. I can't be mad at it, honestly. I don't have the heart to rip it out. And then over here, we have the cucumbers, which you can see I need to harvest because we have a bunch of cucumbers that are climbing their way up pretty much everything. The last notable thing are the blueberry bushes that we have netted up. You can't quite see that there are still some blueberries on here. We've definitely harvested some, and there's a bunch left that just aren't ripe yet. And I think the netting has been doing its job. I think it's being protected from the birds and whatever else would like to eat all of our blueberries. Okay guys, that's it for the July garden tour. Thanks for coming along. This garden tour was full of Lots of color, but also lots of projects that need to be done. But as I'm walking through the garden, I'm reminded that we don't want to get bogged down by all of the projects and things that we have to get done in the garden. You need to take the time and actually be outside, enjoy the literal fruits of your labor. So, with that, I hope everyone's enjoying their summer, and I especially hope that you really get a chance to get outside and enjoy your garden while it's in its full bloom and all of its glory. Until next time, guys, bye.